Good morning.
Good morning. It's November 17th, 2024, and our talk today is, are you making your world bigger or smaller? And then most people don't realize they're doing that, one or the other. You want to speak to that, Bob?
Yeah, I think what happens for us is that we get scared very often of one thing or another. And when we get scared, we shut down that part of the world that scares us. We shut down adventures, we shut down challenges, we shut down relationships that challenge us. And without meaning to, what I've discovered is that individuals, in response to the world that they are having trouble dealing with, they make their world smaller. And what they're actually doing is limiting the resources they have to cope with the world that they're in. And so as we make our world smaller, it feels safer, but it isn't. And then eventually what happens is if we really,
Because we're not risking anything?
wait, we're, well,
Why
we're,
was,
no, we're, it's smaller
why is
because
it
if I
smaller?
eliminate friends, I eliminate challenges, I eliminate going outside because of allergies, I eliminate this, I eliminate that. By the time I get done, I am limited to my house. And the problem with that is I have now made my world so small, there's not room enough for me. And so the real issue is to notice that as we get frustrated or angry or upset or fearful, there's a tendency to rule out or shut down or say no to any and all of those things. And when we do that without meaning to, we're actually limiting our resourcefulness and our resources. When we limit our resourcefulness, we limit our spiritual connection. When we say, I can't have that, I can't do that, it's just too hard. What we've really done at that point is shut out all of the avenues that once opened could show us the way, but also show us more than the way that could challenge us to see even an even bigger world. So my hypothesis for our talk today is we're making our world bigger or we're making it smaller. It's never staying the same. And on any given day, we may be making it smaller and not realizing that we're doing that, or making it bigger and wondering why suddenly it seems overwhelming for us.
Well, I know when I first found this teaching, which was a long time ago, I was about 30 years old. And what was different for me, what I learned that shifted everything for me, was that I didn't have to do everything all by
Mm.
myself and with my own power. I had been agnostic before I found the science of mind. And I expected good things from me, but I thought I had to work hard to do it, have to do it all by myself, figure it all out by myself, go to the right school, take the right courses. It was all up to me. And what I understood with it, with my classes that I took, Science of Mind 1, 2, 3, 4, was that there is a power for good in the universe that's greater than we are, and we can use it with our minds. And by that, I mean what we expect, what we believe we can have or achieve or receive, and that there is a power for good that is just waiting to manifest for us the things we desire. And we don't have to do it all by ourselves. We have to participate by affirming and knowing and expecting a good for ourselves. But that really expands our world when we think, by golly, I can have that, or I can read. I don't know how. I don't have to know how, which is the greatest gift of all. To know, I don't have to know how. I just have to believe that it can happen for me.
I think that that might be a good preface for any of our desires, would be to say the universe is in favor of me. There's a power greater than me operating through me that can do anything. And to say that
Yes.
to ourselves means that I'm willing to tear down all of the walls that I probably have invisibly placed in front of the very thing that I want to accomplish, whether it's spiritual or whatever. I'm talking to somebody recently who hasn't done a lot of meditating, and I asked him to what happens when he starts to meditate. He said, I close my eyes, I try to relax, and the first thing I realize is I'm not relaxed. And I said, then what? He said, well, then I think this isn't working. I can't do this. And I said,
A lot of people do that.
so I said, so your meditation is a vocal verbalization or vocal recognition of how impossible this is going to be to do. He said, that's absolutely true. So I said, well, go back and try it another way. He said, what is that? And I said, relax and say that even though I may not feel relaxed, look relaxed, or seem relaxed, relaxing is taking over my body. I can't help it. It's a mystery. And I'm willing to allow myself to be in the state that I'm in as I allow myself to be open to a greater state.
Right, and that's why we give them breathing techniques and
Yes, yeah. And
things to do while you wait to be
right.
relaxed.
So all of those are strategies working from the premise that it is doable, that it
Yes.
is possible to have a transformational experience. When you were talking earlier, Judith, I was reminded of being in a boat and, you powered the boat, you set the direction for the boat. You're not responsible for the wake. The wake is just there. It happens as a result. And the wake behind you, when you turn the motor off, will continue to push you in the direction you're going. The universe creates the wake that is in favor of you.
Mhm.
And it pushes you, even though there are times when you think I'm standing still. The conditions that you're creating in mind are allowing for more and more and more things that connect to that are like that to occur. And I'm sure you've had the experience of buying a new car or an old car or a used car, whatever. And the day that you got in that car and started driving, you noticed all the cars that were like that. You noticed this, you noticed the models. You said, that's just like mine,
You
except the
see
color is
them.
different. What happens is once you decide on something, the brain, the mind, doesn't let it go. That is, it looks for things that it has in common with it. It looks for things like that. It looks for things to join that match. What if the message you're sending to yourself is the world doesn't work? It's very, very difficult. Things are never good for me. I just wish it would be over. That's the mindset. Now, what are you going to find? I'm going to go to the pool and find at least three people who agree with me. And they don't get in the pool because it's worthless. And so they'd rather argue about how bad it is and it affirms. Or you have the opposite, which is the world is working in favor of me, and you're going to find that. So the statement, if you will, is creating the wake that is actually pushing you and pushing you forward. It's in favor of you. But you're the force, you're the intelligence that says yes to this.
Indeed. And I'm recalling, I learned how to use affirmative prayer, which is a form of prayer that we teach, and it was just miraculous for me because I realized I didn't have to do this all by myself. But I made a list. I had a little black book, and I wrote down all the experiences I wanted to be, do, or have, most of which I had no idea how to have happened. I couldn't have known if I tried my best how to make it happen, but they were things that I wanted. So I continued to do affirmative prayer for all of them. I didn't have to know how it could happen, just that, the power is all with God and it can flow through me and with me. And one by one, I would check them off as things happened. It becomes more difficult when your treatment involves another person because you don't have the power over another person. They have their own consciousness, which is the mental energy of what they believe and want and think. And so that is more difficult if it involves another person. And we don't ever treat that another person has any experience or does anything, but sometimes what you want involves another person. So I had some wonderful, we call them demonstrations, evidence that this miracle happened that I didn't know how to make happen, but it did for me. And, we've had so many things happen in our lives that is evidence about that. But I would like to share one that I experienced recently, because I have gone through in the past few months what appears to be a series of unfortunate events and accidents and surgeries and things like that. And it can get you um, out of your confidence space, you know. And while this happened, I decided to take up an issue that I hadn't taken up, which was that I canceled a flight the first of the year, January 1st, because I was sick. Turned out I had COVID. And long story short, they gave me a credit for future flying instead of
A
money back.
refund. Yeah.
And I knew that, and I just let it be. Okay, I might travel sometime this year. Well, after my incidents, I decided I'm not flying anywhere this year. Let me get a refund for that. And when I tried to do it, I learned that my refund had expired, which was infuriating to me because I had spent about $1,000 for that flight and everything. And so I tried to get a refund by calling them. Sorry, nothing you can do, nobody higher I could talk to. And I was determined I was going to fight for my money. This seemed unfair to me, unjust, and I wanted my money back. And I must admit, I didn't pray for this, but I did want it. And I wrote letters. I had AI help me write letters with the facts, which was very, very good idea. And I sent packages to the airlines. Not sure I should mention that airline. And to Pete Buttigieg, because the head of transportation had recently made new rules for airlines that they had to refund passengers tickets if they had X number of things happen. And so I haven't heard from them yet, but I then followed. I had bought insurance for this trip as well and had tried to have that refunded back at the first of the year, and it didn't work. But I tried harder this time. And they made it very difficult. I'm not going to tell you how, but just the way I had to submit everything was difficult. But I kept plugging it in. And by the time I got it in, I was approved the next day, and my money was refunded to my bank the next day. So it was like, hallelujah. My world is bigger when I don't give up.
Right.
When
So,
I,
so I want to build on that analogy or that example. It's a great example. Imagine that God is a symphony, and imagine that you're a conductor, and imagine that the question that you're being asked is, "What shall we play?" And imagine then that you pick a piece of music that is very difficult or challenging to play. Well, first off, the symphony is willing to play whatever you've asked for. And even though it may be difficult to play, the symphony has said yes. And now imagine that as the symphony is playing the particular piece of work that you chose, that two things are happening. And that is that one, you're hearing it and understanding it and learning from it. And two, the symphony is getting better at what it does. And the symphony, which is all of the aspects of God, all of the strings, all of the horn section, all of those sections
uh-huh.
are playing together in favor of the music you chose. And if it's not good music or it's not the music you want to listen to, then choose again and keep choosing. But understand that when you raise your hands, the symphony is behind you even when you can't hear it.
Yes.
The symphony will play. And there are so many instruments with so many abilities that you cannot see because when they play together, they sound as if they are just one, but you're not by yourself. And so imagine the next time you want something in your life to say, okay, I'm the conductor. I'm going to choose what it is I want to address. And I'm going to invite the symphony to play all of its instruments in favor of the outcome that I choose.
Right.
And
So
watch what you learn.
I think that's a wonderful analogy. And other things that I'm doing to make my world bigger is, because of the surgeries I had, I was sitting in a lounge chair for 2 months with no physical activity. So I'm making myself go to the gym and ride the bicycle and go for a walk several times now. And I've been surprised at how my muscles are so sore. It's amazing how they can get used to doing nothing. So pushing yourself too to do things that maybe are a little uncomfortable, but are good for you, also expands your world.
Well,
It's easier to sit there and
I
do
think we
nothing.
have a myth that we often don't realize is living in the background, which is it shouldn't be hard, it shouldn't hurt.
Yes, exactly. That's what I mean.
Well, this is not right because it's uncomfortable. Well, have you ever been thinking and found it uncomfortable because you couldn't think the answer that you wanted? You couldn't come up with what you wanted, and then later the thinking having continued actually demonstrates for you what it is you want because the thinking continues on even after you think you've stopped thinking.
Yes.
So, what we need to do is invite ourselves to move in the direction that we want to go and know that even when we're not thinking about it, we're moving in that direction. And that everything in the universe is moving in that direction with us to allow us to experience not only the outcome that we desire, but it also allows us to learn in the process. And if you think about it another way, uh, this whole business of being an earth school, and I think it's an education. And the
Mhm,
fact that we're
mhm,
being
no
given
doubt.
assignments on a daily basis that are over our head or beyond our current basic knowledge is what school is all about. None of us goes to school and say, would you please teach me the things I already know? And would you give me a degree at the end of my experience of having repeated everything I already know? No, you go to school and say the first thing I'm willing to admit is I have the capacity to learn, but I don't know what it is I need to learn yet. I don't know what it is that's in front of me that I have to manage. And since I'm in school and there are lots of professors who know more than I do about the thing that I want to learn about, I'm going to go to the professors and say, what is it I should be doing? What is it I need to learn? How is it I can do this? And if it's hard, I might even assume I'm on the right track.
Right, and that's why for every specialty, they have a list of requirements that you must study
Very good.
to become proficient in that area. You don't know what they are, but experts do.
I draw just about every day because it's part of my spiritual practice, but it's also something that I love to do that grows me. And the thing that I notice most often is the hardest thing to do is something I've never done before. And it's the best thing I can do. It grows me. It is so easy to go back and do what I've already done well again.
Mhm.
But to be on the cutting edge of life is to use that knowledge to explore something you've ever never explored, knowing that the symphony is tuned up and ready to play.
Cool. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So we'd like for you to think about your life and say, in what ways am I making my world bigger? I'm learning more, doing more, experiencing more, having more fun, enjoying more friends. Or in what ways am I allowing my world to become smaller? Because as we get older, it often does become smaller in that we may have lost touch with friends. Many of our friends may have passed over. Uh, we call it passing through the veil,
Graduated.
whatever. They graduated. They're not here anymore. And that can be a hard thing
It's
to
hard when you can't
experience.
attend a graduation class.
Yeah.
I ran into something just today actually that was wonderful. And I thought, we're talking about making your world bigger, but one of the ways to make your world bigger is to actively do things that enhance the possibility of living in a bigger world. And some of the things that I saw, this is really, really great. It says compliment three people every day. You don't do that when you're living in a small world. Watch the sunrise at least once a year. Really? Watch the sunrise as often as you can and notice that it's going up, not going down. Be the first to say hello. Live and beneath your means, which is really interesting. We often live above our means, and then what that means is that we no longer feel we have our lives, that we're in charge of our lives. We feel that our bills are in charge of us. Treat everyone like you want to be treated. Well, of course, that makes sense, but we don't always do it. Never give up on anybody. Miracles happen. And when I say that, what's really important is that when we give up on people without realizing that we've often given up on ourselves. And we give up on ourselves for all the reasons we give up on other people. We just simply don't talk about it. Forget the Joneses. I know they live in a big house, but it's not our house. Never deprive someone of hope. It may be all he has. I've noticed that the people that are the most hopeless also peddle hopelessness are the most hopeless.
Mm.
And we want to be careful if we can to be with as many people as we can that share the hopes and dreams and desires that we share. And that encourages us to take more risk into play. Pray not for things, but for the wisdom and the courage. You know, that's huge, I think. Be tough-minded but tender-hearted. That certainly is an example of what you just did with the airplane, that we won't mention, even though it was JetBlue. Uh, be kinder than necessary. Isn't that nice? Be kinder than necessary.
Yeah.
Think to yourself that kindness isn't something you have to measure in small amounts to be careful with, but kindness is something you can actually just share because it seems to be something that the more of you give away, the more of it you get. Don't forget a person's greatest emotional need is to feel appreciated. So whenever you can, appreciate other people, but appreciate you. Appreciate yourself whenever you possibly can, like you were doing with the recognition that you did a good job,
Mhm.
and it's $1,000 good job. Keep your promises. That is so important, and we often make promises that are really not agreements that we plan to keep. They just get us through the next situation. Thank you. I don't know what's wrong.
You need some water.
I love this one. Learn to show cheerfulness even when you don't feel like it. You know, you're going to notice that when you do that, you're not as willing to pout or have a tantrum.
You want me to read this?
No, it's okay. Remember, I don't read very often. I like to
That's
read.
true.
Remember that overnight success usually takes about 15 years. I love that. How many things are coming true for you today that you had in mind when you were 12? And I know that's a long time to wait, but the truth is, by the time it does happen, you're probably more ready for it than the day that you ask for it. Leave everything better than you found it. I love that. Remember that winners do not do what losers don't want to do. When you arrive at your job in the morning, let the first thing you say brighten everyone's day. That's beautiful. Don't rain on other people's parades because you get all wet. Never waste an opportunity to tell someone that you love them. That's the end one. And that also means you. If you actually took all of these and very selfishly said them to yourself, your life would look different than just saying it to other people. So you can practice on other people, and it's really a great practice. But you need to also be practicing it on you because that is creating the world that is big enough for you and everyone that's in it. And if you think about it, most of these things, if you don't do them, tend to have you feel less comfortable and less safe in the world that you're living in, which is what causes us to want to make our world smaller.
Indeed. So the solution, I'm going to repeat this one thing is to know and understand and use the idea that there is a power in the universe that is greater than you are. And you can use it
Yeah.
because it works through you. It works by what you think, believe, and therefore act upon. But first you have to think and believe it. Those are the first thoughts. And unfortunately, it's not even what parents tell us. It often can be our life experience where we've had one failure or another and then decide that that's what we are. We are the failure.
Mhm.
And so we don't even try anymore. We've had failures. Everybody has failures. You know, Walt Disney went bankrupt, I think it was 12 times
Yeah.
before he became the big success. So the idea is not to stop at failures, but to keep going. Because it doesn't mean you're a failure, it means the project failed.
Right. So if we can, we want to live to the edges of the adventure, not into the anticipation that whatever doesn't work has to do with what's wrong with us and that we shouldn't have done it.
Exactly.
We want to think bigger than small. And you know, if you talk to the people that you just said, like Walt Disney, I'm certain was not happy with the bankruptcy, but he did.
Cease bankruptcies, plural.
Right, yeah, he did. But I don't think he believed in bankruptcy as much as he believed in creating cartoons.
That's right.
Yeah, so if he believed in bankruptcy, he would have been a bankrupt cartoonist, and they don't draw much.
That's right.
Well, I think we've exhausted our topic for today, and we're going to go to share a screen. Did you do? Oh, you got it. Fantastic. For those of you that would like to support this ministry or that you already do, I probably don't need to hear this again, but if there's someone new that hasn't, you can go to our website
Just
and
here.
cslpalmbeaches.org. You can go up to the top where it says ways to donate. And it doesn't say how much. You're welcome to donate as much or as little as you feel comfortable with it and supports this ministry. What I do want to say is that this ministry is more than just us. It is the many people that visit and listen who we don't even have a chance to meet, who tell us from time to time that their life has been improved or changed or made better as a result of it. So what I want to affirm is that your investment today is being made in the full realization that
that
not only
God
is
is
God
the
the source of your
source of my
supply in
supply.
return, it enriches and multiplies you, and it multiplies everything that is in your life. And every good thing you do, every positive thing you do, grows you and grows the world you're in. And with
And,
that, we can say thank
and
you.
so it is.
Indeed. And we're gonna end the recording.
Oops.